Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today, expunging friends. For probably the past 3 or 4 years, I've maintained relatively tight control on the number of folks who I connect with on Facebook. When I first started out on Facebook, I had probably 300, 400 odd folk that I maintained some degree of connection with. And then through recording Model Rail Radio, this ballooned to about 1,200 folk. And this was just completely and utterly unmanageable, particularly through the US political season. So I reduced it down to probably about 250 people, which I culled down initially to about 400. And then there were just a bunch of people that I knew at one stage that I had no real meaningful interest to continue to connect with. And of this number, probably now I only follow about 100 people on my Facebook feed, and this seems to be about the right number of people. I've progressively unfriended folks as well, and just removed periods of time in my life where I have no longer any meaningful interest in staying connected. And sometimes I wonder about what has actually happened to these people. I mean, a number of these folk were people that I knew in Australia. A number of these folk were people who, not that I had run-ins with or was scorned by or this kind of stuff, but just people who, I don't know, I didn't necessarily have the best possible experiences with, and I wasn't really sure why I continued to be friends with them on Facebook, of all places. So this kind of pragmatism reduced my friends down considerably, and it made it a lot easier to actually realize that there's a small group of folk that I'm interested in keeping in contact with, and there's a broader group of folk I'm not so interested in keeping in contact with. Now, when I post photos, which is typically what I do now on Facebook, I don't post meaningful topics or anything like that because there's still a contingent that I maintain, typically DNC folk, who just will post aggressive and outlandish stuff if I have anything that sways away from the dominant narrative. So I just post cat photos and things like that on Facebook now. But increasingly, I don't have any interest in Facebook. I mean, it's funny, through my new podcast recording, Attic Aficionados, I'm using Brandon DiCamillo as a means of sending photos where I normally would have sent them to Facebook. And we have a chance to talk about them in the podcast, and that goes full circle because it goes out to folks that listen to the podcast. So in that regard, I'm trying to change the nature of my experiences, and not being part of Facebook is part of that. Now, I'm not going to go cold turkey, I'm not going to rage quit, I'm not going to do anything like that. But increasingly, I have this sickly sense of why am I on this platform that fails to deliver very much. And I think a lot of people don't post photos on Facebook anymore. I mean, it's a very strange platform to actually have interactions with people on. So, another musing associated with Facebook. But like I said, I don't know, maybe once or twice over the past 6 months, I've gone back and thought, oh, I was once friends with that person on Facebook, and I went and looked at what they had on, and I realized why I'm no longer friends with them on Facebook. So, an observation. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.